another major court loss handed to Donald Trump by a Republican appointed judge, a Reagan appointed judge. And by the way, Harry, we saw this whole past week, Donald Trump and all of the people now in his, I call it a regime, are attacking Reagan. Reagan was more of a free trade guy. So all of these Reagan appointed judges, they hate Donald Trump. And then, well, what about your own judge? I hate the judges that Trump appointed to. They're Federalist Society judges.
I hate the Federalist Society.
Reagan Federalist Society. Okay, Kim Jong-un, we get it. Just whatever Donald Trump says in any given day. But, getting into this, Judge Lamberth, he's a judge who's ruled against Trump before. The end of last week, he made another big ruling on Friday. The judge orders the Trump administration to pay another $12.2 million to fund Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty. And basically what's happening is that there are like monthly payments that have to be made. And at this stage, the Trump regime keeps not making the payments. And with the budget bill not passing, any adjustments to those payments is not reflected in a new budget where they're going to try to, defund a lot of things. But under the existing structure, it's like Congress allocated the money. You got to pay. And so these lawsuits keep getting filed against Trump, and he keeps on losing over the same types of issues. But when you get into it, the judge really kind of smoked out Trump's, I think, real bad faith argument. So one bad faith argument Trump made is that because Europe has agreed to fund this Radio Free Europe, Trump says, why do we need to pay it anymore? Europe says they're going to fund it, which is also kind of really embarrassing that at this point, the United States is saying Europe's going to help fund the things that our Congress is supposed to fund. And Europe's doing it basically out of the goodness of their heart, and also because they recognize how important it is, for Europe and the rest of the world to keep this funded. So that was one argument. And then Judge Lamberth was like, no, just because Europe has pledged, you still have basically contractual obligations. You gotta do what you set out to do. And then there was this other issue where Donald Trump, or the Trump DOJ said, basically there's a problem here because Radio Free Europe and the group and the lawyers representing them, haven't fulfilled a bond requirement for a preliminary injunction to issue. And really, if they want these $12.2 million payments, they need to issue a bond of the similar amount of $12.2 million because they may lose the case. And so we're going to be paying $12.2 million. And what happens if they lose the case? And the judge is like, they're part of you. Like you're supposed to fund them. What are you talking? They don't have the money because you're not funding them. And now you're saying that the reason the case should be dismissed is because they haven't posted a bond when their whole case is about you haven't even given them the money for them to even function. So no, just stop these bad faith arguments. And so, to me, it highlights, I could imagine the Trump lawyers like all, being in the building where you were the leader of, but you had a smart team, but they're all there right now in those same rooms. Like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make our own agencies that we're trying to terminate post bonds when they sue us, and they can't do it because we're not paying them. High five. And then the judge is like, okay, that's the stupidest thing ever. No, I'm not going to require that. And it also highlights broader, that these Reagan judges are ruling against Trump frequently. The Trump judges are ruling against Trump frequently. The Bush judges are ruling against Trump frequently. And so now he's just gone, and we'll do a whole other video on this topic, but now he's just gone basically, I hate all judges. And now he's just basically appointing his own lawyers as the judges. So Emil Bove, gets to become a Circuit Court of Appeal judge, although he has to be confirmed, who's one of Trump's lawyers. And I bet you after Alina Habba doesn't get confirmed, after her temporary status is up, he's going to try to make her a judge. I wouldn't even be shocked if he tries to make Habba a Supreme Court judge. Anyway, Harry, talk about this opinion, but some of the broader issues that extend out.
Yeah, and they are broad. So first, what you just said, right? The actual judges who had some professional status, even if they were pro-Trump, they're all ruling against him at an 80% plus clip. So he's really looking for the sort of Eileen canonization of the federal bench. And, I'm sure he'll be able to find them. in some ways a kind of particular issue, Ben, but it's cross-cutting. So start with the money. You said Congress is supposed to approve and fund. It's stronger than that. Congress has approved and fund, just as they've done in area after area, and he somehow thinks that he can take appropriated money, 100% clear under the Constitution. Congress appropriates and the executive executes. That Congress has made that decision, that he somehow thinks he can undo, just completely countermand already appropriated money. That's just like no more Article 1, no more congressional role. So that's the first thing that's happening here. It's already out there. And, this has happened again and again, including things that he's temporarily maybe gotten away with. But USAID, Voice of America is a big one. All kinds of grants in the university settings, et cetera. Congress has approved them. Who the hell do you think you are? Now on the remedial part and the bond, this is part of a bigger issue. This is the very thing Trump thought, ha ha ha. By the way, yeah, you put it so well. They took the money away. So what can, and now they say you can't pay it. It really is like the old story of the guy who murders both his parents and asks mercy on the court because he's an orphan. It's the same idea, but it's this issue of wanting them to pay a bond. Private litigants who sue each other under Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 65, they do post a bond, but it really isn't appropriate here. But Trump, this is one of the sweetheart provisions he has smuggled into the big, beautiful bill. And he thinks, not just agencies, but like the ACLU and others will get the courts to say you have to pay up a bond on government scales, $12 million, $14 million. And so Lamberth, I think, is well aware of this. And what he says is, no, you don't. Not when things have already, been approved by Congress. But this issue is going to keep playing out. We already had another court. I think it might have been in Baltimore, where the judge went through and said, you don't have to post a bond. But that's their latest stratagem. We're getting our heads handed to us everywhere. Let's keep people from suing by requiring them, if they win and get this bond, so it's looking good for them to have to post millions of dollars, which we know they won't have. So very sort of cynical gesture as well. But so both these points, the Congress appropriated it, we don't care, and you got to post a bond. That's, at the end of the day, you talked about the people, concocting their ideas in a basement den somewhere. They don't have that many of them. And they, emergency, we must do these right away. We can countermand Congress, or we need a bond. Somebody, Stephen Miller, who knows, comes up with them, and then they apply them across the board. And it's no huge surprise that they also lose them across the board, even at the hands, as you say, of Trump appointed judges. So, there's never been an administration. Government is righteous generally, proceeds with fair claims, wins overwhelmingly. There's never been an administration with anything close to where the 1962 Mets or worse. They just lose and lose and lose and lose. And it's just evidence that, everything in Trump's mind is not about law, but just sort of nasty reprisals or power or domination. That's not what the Constitution provides. So I think he's going to keep getting his head handed to him. And this is even, we talked about in our other YouTube, even when the law could be on his side, they act precipitously. So, the record here of losses just across the board, district courts everywhere, Republicans, Democrats, et cetera, is just sort of heart-stopping. And if we now see, it's been 120 days, he hasn't appointed any judges yet. If we now see, people actually handpicked because they'll say and rule anything he wants, what a sort of payback that would be. But that's where we are. The judges who are there rule against him because the things he's doing are patently against the law.
Which is why the decision now is, let me just hire my own personal lawyer, and I'm going to make him, let's just appoint my own lawyers. But, there's so much effort being spent on the Trump regime to attack the judges, to attack their ability to issue rulings. Yeah. We see that in the budget bill as well, the random provision about really neutering the ability of federal judges to issue contempt against people like Donald Trump. And it's like, if you focused on the way you focus on attacking judges or taking away people's life savings and people's healthcare and Medicaid, if you spend the time, I don't know, building housing and focused on actually delivering things for the people, I think we'd be in a much better world. Harry, Talking Feds YouTube, Talking Feds Substack, and the Talking Feds podcast. That's where I get my news from. So everybody, make sure you subscribe to all of Harry Litman's platforms on YouTube. Just search Talking Feds, 2 words, Talking Feds, on TikTok, YouTube, Substack, and his podcast, Talking Feds. Thanks, Harry.
Hey, thanks, Ben. Have a great weekend.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 1 million followers.